Came up on the right and. It was a cedar.
I think it's, I can look at the,
Okay. Is there connection?
Fred, can you hear us?
Here, I'll hang it.
Fred, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me? Perfect.
Yeah, I'll do this, but this is actually, this is for, extra, we need extra people to look for roads, to the upgrade. So, that's really. Yeah. Yeah. I'll do that, I can do it. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. But if there's a form.
Either way, I can send it to you or you send it to me.
No, that, would you get me
Yeah. Well, yeah, what?
for the AFC units?
I scratched it out.
That's the-
Oh, I will.
I'm all right.
All right, welcome. It's Monday, June 22nd, 2026, 6:30 p.m. Call the working meeting of the old Idaho City Council meeting to order. Would you please stand with me with the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
The flag of the
of
United States,
and
to the republic for which it
one
stands,
nation,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, everyone. First item on our agenda is there is citizen comments. Do we have any?
No. Anything else? Last.
All right, second item is our consent agenda, which includes the minutes of June 8th, 2026 regular session, claims for payment, and clerk treasurer report.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Everyone in a second. Roll call, Marla,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes,
Courtney.
Yes.
All right. Okay, now unfinished business, review and consideration of repealing and replacing Title V, Chapter 2, Section 4, and Title V, Chapter 2, Section 13 of the Fuel City Code to allow limited on-street parking of trailers in residential areas.
No, so this was just, capturing the, I guess, changes and the updates or the edits, from the last meeting. So, and then adding the permit option in there, which we will hash out kind of the details internally in the next couple of weeks to make sure that that's good to go. And then we'll bring that process back to you guys to make sure it's good with you guys and then. go from there. Do you need us to do the ordinance process for this? Yes. It's 2026-08. Okay, all members of the city council having been furnished a copy of the proposed ordinance number 2026-8 and being fully apprised of the content and purpose of said ordinance, I hereby move that the provisions of Idaho Code Section 50-902, which require that said ordinance be read on 3 different days, 2 readings by title only, and 1 reading, which shall be in full, be dispensed with, and that said ordinance be passed upon 1 reading by title only. And I request a roll call vote.
Okay,
Second.
all right, Portland,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Martha.
Yes. Okay, I'll make a motion to approve, should we approve it and then he reads it?
You need to read the title and then.
Yeah.
Okay, it's title only, so, ordinance number 2026-08, an ordinance of the city of Beale, Idaho. Repealing and replacing Title 5, Chapter 2, Sections 4 and 13 of the Beale City Code to allow limited on-street parking of trailers in residential areas and providing for enforcement penalties, repeal of conflicting provisions, severability, authorizing publication by summary, and providing an effective date.
Just I think I'll make a motion to approve, repeal and replace Title 5, Chapter 2, Section 4, Title 5, Chapter 2, Section 13, which is ordinance 2026-8.
Second.
Yeah, motion and a second. Vote. Marlon,
The new one.
any discussion?
It looks great, finally, thank you. Year and a half.
Vote. Marla,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Portland.
Yes.
Next item is new business. Review and consideration of the 2026 Dalton Hazard Mitigation Plan for Twin Falls County. And I believe Jackie Brett is here.
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate your time tonight, council. I did bring a form, the notice of endorsement, if you need another, you already have it.
I got it.
Okay, thank you. So I'm gonna give you a very brief overview. I've been with the county for a number of years, and part of the responsibility is to have an all hazard mitigation plan for Twin Falls County that encompasses the 8 cities that I'm over. No cost to each city, but it's an opportunity for us to put together all hazard plan that encompasses. And so I'm gonna read some of these things to give you an idea. Landslides, wildfire, we include even burrowing rodents, vector-borne disease, West Nile, flooding, hazardous materials, etc. And the plan is designed so that if each city needs funds, goes out for federal funding, there's a compliancy measure that this plan must be in place. The county must be current and approved by FEMA. So every 5 years I do this plan so that it ensures that each of the cities that we have in our county are able to go out and get block grants or get the grants needed for the infrastructure or needs in their city. And I'm gonna give you my notes too, Chelsea. So one of the things that the plan identifies is a natural and human caused hazards that pose risk to our communities, evaluates vulnerability, outlines mitigation strategies designed to reduce long-term risk to life, property, infrastructure, and the local economy. The planning process incorporated updating county data, stakeholder input, coordination with participating jurisdictions to ensure the document reflects community-specific needs and priorities. So for your city, I did meet with the previous mayor Jason, did some stuff for the Louis, the wildland urban interface portion for fire. Did put out some surveys and got some input. I live in Buell, been here my whole life, so I invested here. So I've had an opportunity to talk to people, and so I've been with the county 29 years. So I've known, I've known a number of people, and so I encourage their input. The formal adoption of this plan is an essential final step in the planning process. This year FEMA made a little bit of a flip, so usually the plan is approved and then I do the endorsement papers. This time FEMA said, until we have the endorsement papers, we're not going to approve your plan. And it's, the plan have a formal letter, I did send it to all of you, that FEMA approved the plan, but it states in the first paragraph, they do want these endorsement letters. This will allow, as I had stated, continued eligibility for FEMA Hazard Mitigation Assistance, HMA, grant programs. It will strengthen ability to secure federal and state funding for mitigation projects and supports coordinated countywide emergency management planning. I did contract with federal funding, a contracting service out of Idaho Falls to help us with this. And they also did the last two updates. And then I did include something for our community, and I've mentioned it to the other cities I've seen, but I thought I'll just make some notes for you. In the plan right now that you have received, I wanted to just address some of those projects. And so we've talked about installing windbreaks on 93 or some of the areas that we see problems with wrecks, traffic issues, public education on county hazards, high wind warnings, flood insurance, and encouraging the flood insurance and drought insurance for our farmers, stormwater diversion, Twin Falls Canal Company, working with them to reduce loss from flooding, the Great Idaho Shakeout we do with our public and our schools, vulnerability, structures and bridges, looking at our structures and bridges in our communities to see if they're sound and if there needs to be any mitigation. Fire reduction on private property, Firewise public awareness, Ready, Set, Go campaign, which the Idaho State Association with our fire chiefs are implementing. This has now become a national campaign. So I'll be working very closely with them in the next few months to get that campaign out. I also support ITD transportation plans. I'm working with them on the pole line and Blue Lakes interchange, as well as the Highway 30 over by Kimberly. So I'm on about 4 of these. So they're all addressing that and the new bridge. So I don't go that far. I'm not gonna, that one's stupid. South Central Public Health District, of course, looking at vector-borne issues and working with them on health-related risks and putting out information to our communities. Water conservation with our citizens during drought or low water. School safety planning, fuel reduction in wildland, interface WUI areas, diverting water retention flow in our cities, and upgrade filling and leaking drinking water systems. Each of the cities over the years that I've worked with have gotten new fencing and security cameras at their water systems in each community. And that was through federal funding to help support you. So not to bore you or anything, but I am here today to give you just that brief overview and to ask for your approval in allowing yourself to be signatories on the all hazard plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this would just be a motion to
Right here.
basically endorse and participate.
Yes, oh, here's all, I'm sorry. Here's the two things I need for you guys.
Yes, thank you.
And then would I be able to take that tonight or not? That's not approved. Or just,
Well, I mean,
This one,
the only one that signs is the mayor.
yep, mayor, and then I'll test it and we could just grab a copy and send
Yeah,
it.
no,
Or-
go on with your meeting. I can wait for the end of the meeting.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
Except for I got one from David. So David. The signature one. There's no.
Did I do something wrong?
It has David Howard and
It
it's,
says, it's Doug.
Yeah.
Well, then,
We just crossed that out.
initial, stretch it out.
Okay.
And initial it and put Doug.
Okay.
And my deepest apologies.
okay.
I'm sorry. And if you'd feel better that I typed the whole thing, redid it, and brought it back to you,
If you're fine with me doing
no,
that.
my apologies again, I haven't had a chance to meet you, and I'm sorry.
So basically just a motion to endorse and participate in all hazard mitigation plan.
We'll just need a motion in a second. Vote.
Yeah, to endorse and participate.
I make a motion to endorse and participate in the all hazard mitigation plan for Twin Falls County.
Second. We have a motion in a second. Roll call vote. Marla,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
or
Yes.
Thanks for all your hard work on this, Jackie.
No, I appreciate it, again, I'm so sorry, I can't easily retype it, and, okay, you guys understand. But it will be fine, thank you.
All right. Next item is a discussion from Clearwater Financial. A presentation on bond refinancings and the comprehensive plan update. How you doing today?
Doing awesome. Good to be with you, Mayor, and members of the council. Cameron Ariel here, and I have my colleague Abby Urquianga on as well. And we've got a few exciting updates for you guys. So we're excited to be with you tonight. Abby's going to take the comprehensive plan portion, and then I'll follow up with a few of the other items. So Abby, I'll turn it your way.
Awesome, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Chelsea, can you help enable the screen share so I can share screens from my computer?
Yes.
Thank you.
That meeting.
And I didn't take long. Just-
That's okay. Usually it's like the very first option. Is it under that?
No, you know.
Here, would you mind if I just did them for you? Cause I have them pulled up.
Oh, sure, not at all.
Okay.
You could definitely drive. I will, yeah, just use mine on my side. So, okay, thank you so much. Yeah, go ahead and bring up that first slide. So we're really excited to give you this update. This project has definitely been a labor of love for the city, and the city's had its share of challenges to navigate as it worked through staff change and some other items as well. But we're really excited to be at this stage. So we are, if you want to go to the next slide. Yeah, go ahead. There we go. So, you know, we really wanted to share the draft that you received a few weeks ago from Chelsea. That is the draft updated plan. And this slide really captures what's changed in this 2026 update from the city's 2017 plan. So really a snapshot view, but we wanted to be able to capture all 17 elements that are required to be included in a comprehensive plan, what their status is, and then how they were edited or changed or added in some cases where they were missing from the original 2017 plan. So you can see here, we're going to specifically call out the special areas or sites. Those are currently combined with community design. So we've split those out. Agriculture is currently not included in the city's plan. So we've added that. The national interest electric transmission corridor, that has changed in statute from the city's current plan. Inside the current plan, it's listed as cell towers, transmission lines, and wind turbines. So we've added that as well. And then for the airport facilities, those are briefly mentioned under transportation. So we've separated those out. And then all of the other sections we've also updated and expanded. So we're going to get into an example of what that might look like later in our presentation, but just in the interest of time and the amount of content that we're going to cover tonight between Cameron and myself. We wanted to give you just a high level view of what is changed from the current plan to the draft that you received. So we can go ahead and go to the next page. So this slide really captures what the updates look like by plan topic. So we're not going to just read the slides to you, but just point out that, land use and growth management, there's been updates by the county to the area of impact. So we've incorporated that coordination. We've included growth projections through 2060. We did a demographic report at the beginning of this project, and those numbers are quite a bit different from the 2017 plan, as you might imagine. Infrastructure, one of the themes that came through with our citizens committee, they've been excellent participants in this process and really helpful. But, really the feeling that infrastructure growth should not outpace the infrastructure that's happening in the city. So we want to make sure in this current draft that those things are considered. So the growth, but also what is the capacity of the system and what might that look like as growth is occurring over the next 20 years. We also included updates to housing. So the housing variety, neighborhood compatibility, economic development. You might remember that was a huge priority theme that emerged from the original community survey, as well as the subsequent priority survey. So a lot of interest from your community and your residents about how can you enhance and sustain economic development within the city of Buell, and including agriculture, aquaculture, downtown, different partnerships as well. And then one of the main updates that you'll see in the current plan is implementation. So we have added an implementation section to every component of the plan. That includes actions, a time frame, as well as who is responsible for that. So if it's a specific department, if that rests more with the city council, if that's a collaboration, we identified those and outlined that. So there's accountability to your community about what is planned to happen, when it's planned to happen. They can follow along with the wins that the city gets through this plan, but really we felt that it was important, and maybe not as present in the current plan, that there was some level of, okay, here's what you want us to do, but then how do we do it? And so we really wanted to bring that into the plan as well. Next slide, please. So this is just a brief slide talking about the community engagement that's been part of this project. We're really proud of the engagement that's happened. Your community has responded really well to our outreach efforts, and this just captures those. We've had multiple surveys. We did a virtual town hall. We've done a host of stakeholder interviews, and then, again, mentioning our citizens committee, they've been just phenomenal with their engagement with this process as well. So next slide. Okay, so this slide really is capturing what we've heard through that outreach process, and these echoings from your community are really reflected in the updated plan, and we tried to be very cognizant of their inclusion and thoughtful about how we placed them and represented them throughout the update. So in terms of housing, you might remember quite a bit of concern about affordable housing at various levels as the stage of someone's life. So entry level, family home, senior housing, just affordable housing in general. Again, the infrastructure, that was a big piece of feedback that we received. Quality of life, you might remember a previous presentation where we did a word cloud where we captured how residents express their feelings about Buell in 2 words. And what came through there is just this resounding small town feel, community, feeling of belonging that the city really values and wants to hang on to. Economic opportunity, same thing along the economic development lines. So supporting growth, but maintaining the really local character that makes Buell unique. You don't want, and it wouldn't be appropriate to bring in a plan that's more suitable for Boise or even Twin Falls. Really what we put into the plan is, we feel, is reflective of what we heard from your community. We can go ahead and go to the next slide. So as we look at this slide, we did pull these numbers from the demographic report, which is available on the city's webpage for the comprehensive plan. Your current population is sitting at approximately 4,500. And a main consideration, again, in the comp plan update is how are we planning for growth? In all of those 17 components, growth is factored into that as a consideration over the next 20 years. You can see on the right-hand side, we have projected population in 2040 over 5,700, and then 2060 up to about 7,400. So again, these numbers are coming from the mid forecast from the city's demographic report, but those are that's a big influx into your community. And I think we all are familiar with the feeling that time goes by really quickly. And so that's going to be here before you know it. So having a livable plan that reflects not just the current state of the city, but also what it's anticipated to become in the next few years is really pivotal to how we framed this update. We can go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So this is touching on the housing and neighborhoods. And again, somewhat of a reiteration of what we heard from the community about the need for the city to support housing opportunities for all life stages. Embedded in that, inside the housing portion of the update to the plan, we're talking about prioritizing maintaining existing neighborhood character, supporting a variety of housing options. And with that, we've also included definitions of what that means, what we're capturing by using certain terms, such as infill development where that's appropriate. And then how does the city plan to address future housing demand? If you look at your demographic report, what's coming, what should you plan for? It's really the intent behind the update to the plan is that the city's well positioned to address those head on. It has a plan, it has implementation actions, and it's able to move forward. Go ahead. Next slide, please. Okay. Again, infrastructure, transportation, and public services. This is a big piece of the comp plan, these three areas. And what came through, especially with the Citizens Committee and our latter meetings, making sure that there's enough infrastructure, water, wastewater, sidewalks, and streets. Is the city walkable? Is there connectivity and mobility between its streets and its sidewalks? And, the city's made a lot of progress from its original plan and actually implemented some of those pieces and walkways from 2017. And we were fortunate enough to have some members of our Citizens Committee who they remember that and they remember living that and getting that moving forward. And so really being able to piggyback on the successes the city has already had, but then expand those into what does the future of Buell look like? So again, this slide highlights, again, growth should not outpace your infrastructure. And that's really one of the cornerstones of the update to the plan. Go ahead and go.
Mayor and Abby, just real
Go
quick
ahead.
on this
Yeah.
slide too. This is a great example of what we'll be talking about later in the presentation as well as your utilities and some of the work that we're doing there around the financing side of those utilities and how that really, is even current action that the city's doing to really be on top of the future needs of infrastructure.
That's great, Cameron, thank you. Next slide, please, Chelsea. Okay, so economic development here, we've divided it into 4 quarters, but economic development, again, has been a resounding top priority for your community. So things that stood out and are reflected in your plan are regional partnerships. So coordinating with neighboring jurisdictions and organizations. The Chamber of Commerce is present and active there. And so how can we strengthen that relationship and leverage that partnership for the benefit of both the city and the chamber? Employment opportunities, that's a big one. That's for everybody. It goes to housing, it goes to affordability, but how can you retain and attract jobs so that people maybe aren't leaving Buell to go work in Twin, or there's more there to keep keep everything inside the city. So local businesses as well, strengthening that downtown area, maybe reinvigorating some of those commercial areas. And then the agriculture, that's a cornerstone for the city. And we believe that that's reflected well inside the update to the plan. Cameron, anything to add here on the economic development piece?
I just, this portion in particular, I think is ripe for, collaboration and, there's some really good bones there to see some really cool things happen in the city. So that's one that I think, again, came through loud and clear in surveys, stakeholder, feedback is, the community is really interested in, leveling up its game in the economic development piece. But yeah, we're excited about that portion of the plan.
All right, Chelsea, go ahead. Next slide. We're really excited about this slide, which hopefully you're really excited seeing it too. I know tables are my jam, but really this is what we've put at the end of every section of the 17 sections that is in your update. So we have this time frame on the left, short-term, midterm, and long-term, and this is pulled from the public services, facilities, and utilities section. So, and we're defining short-term 1 to 3 years, midterm is 3 to 7, long-term is 7+. Then we've associated an action with that, as well as a responsible party. So not necessarily the same as economic development, what Cameron was talking about in terms of collaboration, but along that same line, that there's connectivity between the city staff and city services, between council and staff, between the different departments, council, and different groups within the city. So really excited about this implementation piece because we want it to be, feasible. It needs to be something that the city can do. And that's where your feedback, our project team that includes Chelsea, that feedback is really valuable. When Jasmine was still there, that was getting her feedback as well. What's feasible for the city, but then how do we make this doable for you? Bite-sized chunks, not overwhelming what you already have. Everybody has a lot on their plates. So we really had a lot of intention bringing this piece into your plan, and we're really excited to see it live out in reality once the plan is adopted. So I will pause there and just ask if there are any questions before I move on to my final slide. Nope. Okay, Chelsea, go ahead. So this slide is just an overview of where we are. You've seen this similar chart before. And right here, we're towards the end of June. So we've got this work session, and then we're going to be working on any refinements and edits from council. We're going to present this to the public and allow, really encourage public input and participation in the plan, getting feedback, posting it on the website so that we're able to offer a variety of ways they can get involved. We'll be coordinating with the project team about what's best next for a public meeting, for people to come in and visit and ask questions. But from there, we're looking towards an adoption date of September. And we're really excited to get this wrapped up for you and, give you something that is useful, that won't sit on a shelf, but captures where Buell is right now, where it's headed, and takes into consideration the voices of your community. So with that, we just have that final slide where we're giving acknowledgement to the Idaho Department of Commerce and the Blue Cross of Idaho Foundation. Their grants have helped to fund this project, and I'm just really grateful for their participation and their support making this happen. So with that, if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer those, or if you'd like to move on to Cameron's training, happy to shift and keep you guys on track.
I just had a question. Thank you so much for doing this. I was looking at the housing and the quality of life, and it kind of touches on parks, but I'm looking for something a little bit more specific that we can tell developers. I looked at a couple other comp plans around. Middleton is one that I really enjoyed looking at because it was per square miles, or it was houses or something, but they had a very set number of parks for how many houses or how much. And so I didn't know if that was in here specifically. I took the pieces that I thought it would be in, but I didn't see it. But it would make me feel better when developers do come, because I'm not trying to turn down developers, but I also don't want to just build a bunch of houses without anything for the public to do. So that's my only question.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, go ahead, Cameron, go ahead.
I beat you to it. So
You did.
far, the great point, and members of the council, that's an absolute, something that can definitely be in the plan. And if you guys would like to, set a policy or standard around that, Middleton is a client of ours.
Yeah.
Their parks, I believe, if I'm remembering right, it's per household, a certain amount of park square footage. So we could set a similar standard, work with you all to kind of see what makes sense for Buell, and then include that in the plan. Excellent. Okay,
Awesome.
great. Next portion of the presentation tonight is to do a little bit of a brag session. I know maybe Chelsea leaked some of this. I know some of you have heard, but we're really excited to present the effort that's been ongoing for refinancing the city's water, wastewater bonds through the Idaho Bond Bank Authority. So this will just be a quick update on that, and then we could dive into a little bit of a training portion specific to the utilities. I'm glad Jason's here to brief you all on this stuff. But so the first slide is just a high level recap of the bond bank. Now you'll recall the city's portion was 2 of the 3 loans that were included. There was also a large portion of this was the city of Middleton. And you'll recall that's because of the bond bank, we're able to pool those bonds together, and that makes it cheaper for everyone. And then, of course, we're able to get the state of Idaho's credit backing. So the state sales tax is pledged to these bonds as well. So kind of like mom and dad co-signing, on the teenager's auto loan. It really gives the credit a boost, and therefore demands the best rates possible. So we're really glad for the bond bank, and then of course the result. So just to kind of touch this briefly, the interest rate that was received was 4.14%. And just to kind of break that down a little bit, the market that day, or comparable rate, kind of a benchmark, if you will, for AAA rated financings was 4.46. So again, the size of it, because it was combined with Middleton, and there were the 2 city bonds, plus the credit enhancement from the state, got us better interest rates than any other municipal credit in the country. So we're very pleased with that, and I think that's something that the city should be proud of, and certainly the ratepayers of the utilities. But if you just kind of compared them between the 2 rates, that actually saved the deal over $4 million. So even just 0.75%, right then, not a big deal. It's actually a lot of money over 30 years. So really pleased with that result. The next slide just kind of shows you the breakdown of those 15 bids. Again, this was the largest number of bidders on any bond bank deal in its history. So again, really pleased that of the participation. The team had a really good marketing strategy to get it out, and clearly the market responded. So you can see on there some of the really big financing firms. But even just amongst that, you can see from the winning bid, JP Morgan, who's been a great partner throughout the years, but also on this deal, but then also Hilltop, who's very active. There's only 6 basis points difference in the bid, so really competitive, hyper competitive, and just even that much more sharks in the water, if you will, really drove down the cost for the city. This next slide, we can skip because this is combined, so we'll just go to the next one, where we talk specifically about the water utility. So that bond was refinanced, and you can see there the combined savings, net present value savings. And again, that's just a reiteration of the city paying its bills, being on time with its payments, and not dissimilar from any other, household credit. The city's been very good about managing its utilities, and that was rewarded. So you can see there's a nice chunk of savings in the $430,000 range from a net present value perspective. Over the life of it, it was $532,000. So we're pleased with that. Sewer, the next one we'll talk about. This was the larger loan, therefore it benefited from the larger savings. And you'll see here the true interest cost for the bond rate was 4.14, but Buell's portion is a shorter term because you've been paying on it. So it's therefore even lower interest rate. So that in and of itself was a great benefit to the city. And just to be brief, that generated a net present value savings of just under just under 900,000, and then all in savings was over. So really pleased with that and what that means for the utilities going forward. So let's transition there. Well, actually, we'll stop. If there's any other questions, we're just thank you for letting us assist the city through that process, and we couldn't be more pleased with the result. And kudos to Chelsea and Jason for being so good about helping us through that process. It was pretty onerous but fun.
Interesting.
So
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Cameron. This is very exciting.
So thank you. So we'll just dive in now into, okay, so what do you do with this now? This has been a significant savings. What does this mean to the city going forward from a utility rate perspective? And just some considerations for you all to think about as you plan the utility going forward. So just really quickly, won't get into this too much, but it's important to kind of understand the 3 main elements that come into utility. You have revenue, of course, so that's the main, and we'll talk about what's included there, the expenses and the savings. The next slide, we'll just talk specifically about revenue. What comes in there is your user rates, so that's the main chunk of your revenue. Any fees that are associated with that, so connection fee, development fee. There's a few fees there that can be assessed, and then any interest income. So basically investing that money and getting as much interest income can contribute. And then if there's other miscellaneous revenue streams that come in. The savings component, so this is where again the overall financial management of the city comes in. So making sure you have backup funding should anything go wrong, and then making sure you have operational reserves too, so you can weather any storm. Because again, that could be painful if your water main goes down and you're not generating revenue because you're not using the utility and no one's paying for it. So having a reserve is critical. And then just the savings overall. And then the expense side, just making sure that we see this a lot with our clients is not sacrificing the current to what will be the future need. So yes, you may be covering current operational need and your maintenance needs. But what are those going to be in the future? Is there any upgrades that need to be occur? Any expansion due to growth or so on that needs to be contemplated, because that's where folks can really get in trouble, so. And then something that we're just seeing across the board is just the idea of inflation. So the cost of running utilities, certainly in improvements, that's all just going up in cost. And so without planning for that, it can really eat away. And we'll show you some examples of why that occurs. But yeah, just deferred maintenance is a big one. So just not maintaining it. It's I kind of equate it to like your car, we'll pass on the oil change this month. And if you just kind of keep doing that, you can really end up in a really costly scenario to upgrade a system. Whereas if you're kind of in front of that and planning for that and, incremental increase, that can really help with that. Of course, just it's like anything else, it will deteriorate over time. We know there are certain sections of town that are really in bad shape. So just knowing that. And then the regulatory environment, unfortunately, it just those are mandates that come down on systems, and as much as we may want to push back or not do, there isn't really the ability to do that because then you're in non-compliance and there can be regulatory consequence for that. And then growth, obviously, keeping up with what's coming and being ahead of that, planning for that can only help you address those needs in the future. And then just for, because I know you all are very conservative, we appreciate that. We are too, as your municipal advisor. So we contemplate this in the math essentially. So if you know there are utility needs, delaying those utility needs actually can be very costly. So if you know that the need exists, getting on it and figuring out a path is the conservative way to address that. Whereas if you just, and again, this is just straight line math. If you delay, the example here is $15 million today, in 10 years will be 22.2 million. So we ran into this with Ada County, who's a client at their jail. They had I want to say it was a $75 million need. They were going to bond for a portion of that and fund the rest with savings and annual contribution. And they weren't able to pass the bond, so that delayed a portion of the project. And now that project cost is ballooned to over $100 million. So still have the need, still need to house inmates. That just is now costing them a lot more. So again, something to be very cognizant of as you guys make decisions around utilities. And then debt service. So you have these bonds on the books. If future upgrades and needs are there, planning for that is super necessary. We'll give you some examples of this. The two main things that I just want to kind of put out there are creditworthiness and coverage, and they really do run together. When we speak about creditworthiness, from a credit perspective, the city is in a really good spot. It's the results we were just able to achieve, and you're paying your bills and you're ahead of that. And that really does come down to the coverage, meaning your revenues are more than your expenses and debt. So that's a key indicator for creditworthiness, is you can pay your bills and your debt. If you need to expand your system, that's obviously going to increase not only the operation and maintenance costs, but also the debt. So planning for that is key. So we'll get into this a little bit. So why this matters. So what is coverage? It's, like I said, it's the ability to pay. So again, if you just think from your own household, you go to get a car loan and your income is below what that, payment amount would be, of available, income, that's gonna be hard for you to get funding. So the same is true for utilities. That obviously impacts the rating. So when we say rating, that's like, you know, the bond bank bonds were rated AAA. That would be true for the people that are rating your credit. So if you think of it in the consumer example, it's like TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, I think are the three consumer credit rating agencies. The same is true for municipal debt. So that's Moody's, Standard & Poor's, and Fitch are the three. And so they'll look at that and assign you a rating. So again, that will determine not only whether or not you can finance, but at what rates and terms. So we're very, again, as your advisor, we're very conscientious of that. And then setting policies around this. So you are all busy and helping staff create policy that then helps them just keep the ship on course. You know, if there's ever a question of should we raise rates, lower rates, it'll give them a basis for that and set a policy toward that will maintain the city's utility creditworthiness. And then, of course, connecting that to how you operate. So making sure, you know, utility billing is happening, making sure the operation is within budget and budgeting accordingly, particularly when you have significant upgrades or operational maintenance costs, just being conscientious of those things. So it does affect, you know, one of the key things that the city exists to do. So just being conscientious of that, which is providing water and wastewater services. Yeah, we talked about this. It's just staying on top of that will influence all of these components. Next slide. Again, this is just that revenue stack that we talked about and how the coverage impacts when you have the debt service. The next slide. So this is just to kind of highlight how the ratings would work. And you're all in a really good spot here, particularly with Chelsea and Jason's expertise. But it's just important that you're on top of all of these sections of how a rating would be assessed for the city on its utilities. Okay, so really quick here through now when we talk rates, this is referencing your utility rates that you charge your users. And I know many of you guys were part of my presentation at the Association of Idaho Cities Conference, but just the idea that of the importance of a rate study. So analyzing what your current rates are, working with Jason and your engineers to know what those costs, those future costs will be, and then managing your rates to meet that is super important. So keeping on top of the rate studies is critical. And then keeping up with that. So essentially making that policy so that you're following the report and making sure that the rates are consistent. And then we'll illustrate this for you, but the idea of incremental increases versus large jumps, that's just, we've seen over the years, just that's a good way to manage utilities and making sure that you're being conscientious of the ratepayer in that. So it's not a, whoa, what is this? It's, you've already planned for it and you're able to feather that. And then annual review, yeah, really kudos to the city for having a rate committee. I think that's a really smart thing to do to bring your community into the process, make sure they understand the health of the utilities, and therefore can help you all, you know, make recommendation and manage it, and then make sure that that's communicated well with the rest of the community. And we mentioned GFOA here, that's Government Finance Officers Association, so that's Chelsea's basically a national trade organization. They have a lot of really good standard best practice around this that we wholeheartedly agree is good. And then like Abby mentioned, we're really big on the implementation side, so making sure that, you know, we're making that happen and not just have the rate study or the other components of this, collect dust on the shelf, that they're active and used. So just really quickly, I'll just illustrate this. So this would be a utility that, makes it either out of neglect or has a policy of no increases. And again, it's important to note that you all have the tough decision of, you know, you have ratepayers to report to and are responsible to. But you have to be able to balance that with the needs of the system. And I'll show why that's critical here in a moment. So this would just be the example of not increasing rates, and you can see that, the revenues there are going to be consistent across the board because you're not generating new income. So you have that $6 million number, you have a $4 million, at least in year one, expense cost. And then you have the net of that as your funds available for debt service. And then the debt service itself, you have this has a hypothetical project coming on in year 4. And what that does is essentially it immediately makes your utility insolvent. So you're not over, your revenue are not able to make expense and debt service. That's why that 0.81 is an indicator there. So again, if you go back to the credit side of it, that would be hard to get lending on. Your revenue is not there to match the expense and debt. And then you can see over time that actually starts to compound and is even, puts the utility in a really tough spot. The next one would be kind of what we'd call the big jump. So it's like, everyone wakes up and one day it says, hey, we've got to do a big increase to meet debt service so we can finance something. So you can see that occurring in year 4. So if this utility were to implement a 15% increase to get to that 1.25 times coverage and then a 3% thereafter, that's going to be a shock to your ratepayers. So again, not ideal, but it gets you in a place where you can actually finance. So again, and then I'll just jump to the next one. This is what we kind of consider your slow burn. The concern with this though is even if you're doing a 3% increase, you see that you actually don't get to at least financing coverage until year 9. So it's a slow kind of upward trajectory of your rates, but it's not gonna get you to that ability to finance until you're well down the road. And then scenario B, this is more of a kind of a tethered or feathered kind of an approach. It gets you there in year 4, but it's again, there's kind of a jump there for a one time. And then the last one, this is more of just a static, staying in front of it, kind of an approach where you're doing 5%. And there's no need for one times because you're when that debt comes on in year 4, you're already in a coverage scenario. So to illustrate this is kind of the net result. So if you were to compare the no increase example with the 3%, you can see how quickly the utility gets into a compromising scenario and with no revenue increases. So a flat, that would be like, me telling my wife, hey, I'm just happy with my current job. I'm not gonna work hard and I'm not gonna get any increases in my take home pay. But grocery bills are going up. We had a kid. you know, that's where this would start to squeeze, the utility. And of course, you would never want to get into that scenario where your expenses and debt are more than your revenue. That would be super bad. And then, you can contrast that a little bit with the annual increases. You can see there, yeah, maybe that stays ahead of, the curve, but there's, you're always kind of ahead of that. So hopefully that kind of gives you a visual there. And then, kind of just talk about growth real quickly, and we'll go fast here. You know, the idea of impact fees is something that we encourage our clients to consider, particularly where the legislature and passage of House Bill 389 really caps your ability to capture growth beyond 5% annually. That's where impact fees and other you know, revenue becomes really critical, because your ability to pay for that growth and service that growth is capped. So implementing impact fees can really help that. It's not a tax, it's a one-time fee on the development, and that can generate revenue for capital. It's important to note too that they can't pay for operation and maintenance, so it's just growth related costs, capital costs. With that in mind, that's probably, you know, if the city council has interest in it, that's probably another discussion we could have about how to capture that. The other thing I would note on this is impact fees. If you're growing and you're not collecting them, it really is revenue lost, because you can't go back and get it, or that's where it would be important to have that in place before you know development is coming. So if you want the development and it makes sense for the community, kind of in relation to the comp plan, this would be a critical funding component to that. I won't get into this too much, but you can do impact fees as it relates to the utilities. We advise that a connection fee is better. It's under the code, it's a little less restricted. You can use the connection fee for various things. You can use it for operation and maintenance. Impact fees is based only on a specific capital improvement plan. We usually advise clients to use impact fees for other things like parks, roads, police, fire, things like that. And connection fees for the utilities. It's a little more flexible when it comes to that. And then just lastly, this is the kind of the takeaway slide. It really all is a collaborative process to make sure that your utilities are in good shape. It's understanding the costs, and that kind of comes back to your rate analyses, and then making sure that those are implemented with sound policy, so that Chelsea doesn't have to, she can just manage to that policy, make sure that your revenues are always in a good spot, and then that you're capturing growth, particularly through fees, to make sure that revenue is coming in, and then just making sure that you're always building reserves, so that should something happen, it's not going to endanger the utility. And then that's gonna roll right into your ability to access debt in the best way possible. So again, as a user, again, back to the consumer example, if I'm taking good care of my household, that's gonna really benefit my family, because we'll be able to get a mortgage at the lowest rate possible that lowers that burden on us all. Whereas if I'm, spending money all over, that's not gonna be, or I'm not keeping up with costs and maintenance on our home, that could be a problem with the family. And then just ultimately delivering that, right? So delivering on all of that is key. And then making sure that it's a cycle, right? So we're, you know, again, having the utility rate committee see these things, being involved in it, reporting to you all will be important. That was a lot. Hopefully, any questions before I wrap up? I just can't reiterate how pleased and proud we're of the financing and kind of where the city's at now. But just how important these things are to maintaining a core service of the city.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, thanks for all your hard work with the savings and.
Yeah. Super stoked.
Thanks.
With the impact fees, you need an impact study.
Yeah, so the code requires it, and then also in conjunction with that is an adoption of a capital improvement plan. So you have to kind of outline exactly what the fees will pay for. The legislature wanted to make sure that if impact fees are implemented, that people know exactly where that money's going. So it's
Within 8 years, right?
correct. Yes, you have to spend it within 8 years. And again, as it relates to utilities, that's where we recommend. I mean, you can do impact fees for your utilities, but we would recommend connection fees or people call them different things, but because that wouldn't carry that same spend requirement as well as the CIP portion. Again, that is good practice to know what you want to use that money for, but it gives Jason and the city council more freedom as to what to use it for. Great questions. Cool.
That's a new part.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Always a pleasure to be with you. Chelsea, and y'all know where to find us if you have questions, but we'll make sure we keep you on track to the extent we can keep you out of major trouble. So thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Gabby.
All right, perfect, thank you.
Thanks.
You bet.
All right. The next item is action item review and consideration of the utility rate committee recommendation for fiscal year 26-27 utility rates.
Yeah, so that rolls in pretty nicely. We were able to meet with the utility rate committee last week. It was a really good meeting. Basically, they get together, they look at the utility preliminary budgets. We figure out basically what it would take to get the O&M to balance. That's kind of the very layman term process that we did. They did recommend an increase. I sent you and actually, here's can I just pull it up on there so it's like big too? I will preface this, I guess, by saying that, the recommendation that they came up with, while the overall bill, is only a 3% combined, you'll see these two numbers, well, actually, and then the capital improvement, since they are all over 5% of an increase, so you won't be voting to approve the recommendation today. We'll go to public hearing, have a public hearing on this recommendation, or if you guys are like, no, absolutely not, then we can adjust and then have the public hearing on the new recommendation. But that is what they've recommended, so an increase of $2.56 to water, $1.40 to sewer, and an increase of 60 cents to the capital improvement. Again, this would basically, the water and the sewer would get the O&M in their preliminary budgets to balance. And then the capital improvement is that extra savings for future projects down the road.
So is that total?
So the total bill or the total?
The total increase.
The total increase would be $4.55, so 3%. So it would go from 151.76 to 156.31. Any questions?
You need a motion?
And it would be the motion to go to public hearing for it.
So I'll make a motion that we move to public hearing, for the increase in water of $2.56. For sewer, $1.40, and 60 cents for capital purpose. For a total of $4.55.
Second. Excuse me, we have a motion and a second, any other discussion? Multiple vote. Marla,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes,
Marla.
Yes.
Public hearing. Our next meeting,
Yes, the 13th, I'll get it published, we'll get the word out, Saturday. I think Wednesday is my deadline, to Saturday, and then that will be 15 days, or 16. So yes, July 13th.
All right. Our next item is review and consideration of beer, wine, and liquor license application.
So the spreadsheet that I sent you, there really wasn't anyone new. The only change was Magic Valley Brewing is no longer in business. And so they came off of the spreadsheet, but everyone else, was the same as in the past. We are still waiting on a couple. Don't know why that happened. Now we're awake. I'm still waiting on a couple, either county, I think I might have gotten my last state one today, but I think I'm waiting on a couple more county licenses. In the past, I know it's been similar, that there's been a few that have trickled in after, they are due June 30th, and they expire July 1st, so if we don't have someone's on July 1st, even if you vote to approve them today, it's gonna, it has to not be approved because we don't have all of the pieces to it. So we just, the timing of everything.
Is there another business taking place in Magic Valley Brewing?
Not that I'm aware of,
I should know there was a meeting list.
no. And they actually, we have 4 liquor licenses. And that's like our cap for our city. Beer and wine, there is not really a cap, so if someone were to come in, they couldn't do liquor, but they could do beer and wine.
I have to recuse, because I have a hearing.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve, the beer, wine, and liquor license applications.
Second.
All right, motion and a second, vote, Marla,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Brett,
yes,
and Corbin recused himself, so, okay. Our next item is review and consideration of airport fuel equipment purchase from Jackson Jet Center.
Good evening, everyone. I'll try to make this very quick. Basically, what has happened at the airport is, Freedom Flying Service basically has been supplying our aviation fuel sales since about '08. As of last winter, Freedom Flying Fuel, the fuel part of Freedom Flying Service sold to Jackson Jet Center out of Boise. Jackson Jet Center contacted us right after the first of the year and said they no longer wanted to do fuel sales at the Fuel Airport because of liability and of testing. So they told us that they would continue to sell fuel there until we found an alternative. So for the last 4 months, the board has been looking at different items. The 2 major things we considered, the first one was doing like some small airports do, and they run their own fuel sales. So They have to buy, run the card machines, the whole 9 yards, liabilities and all that stuff. I talked to Chelsea about some of that. We come to the conclusion that probably wasn't in the best interest of the Buell Airport, so. We looked at other alternatives. The other one would be trying to find somebody else like Reader Flying Service that would be interested in selling our fuel, or doing our fuel sales there. We contacted Dale Thomas over at Thomas Helicopters or Thomas Aviation at Gooding, and they do this for several airports in eastern Oregon and southern Idaho. So we talked to them, had them come out, and they did, they said they were definitely interested in doing it for Buell. And it would help Buell several ways. Number one, we get rid of the liability, because they have liability and stuff like that, to take care of that. But their recommendation was that we own the equipment and then they run the fuel sales through our equipment. And they take care of the sales, they furnish the fuel, the liabilities, the testing. They keep the fuel current, so, because this aviation fuel does go bad. And we don't need to be tied up in an airplane that goes down because of bad fuel or something like that. So the airport right now owns the fuel tank and the pump, but we do not own the card reader or the reel. We've contacted Jackson Jet Center. They are interested in selling the equipment they have out there, which is the card reader, which has all new computer components in it. And the reel isn't really worth much, but I talked to Dale. Dale said a good card reader like that could be worth anywhere from $8,000 to $12,000. They've cut us a real good deal for $6,000 on this. What we would like to do, we feel, and I think Josh says we haven't enough money left over in our budget for this year that we could probably go ahead and we wouldn't have to ask you for any money. We should have it in our current fiscal year budget. So we would like to go ahead and cut Jackson's check for the $6,000 and own the equipment, and then go into contract with Thomas's for them to do the fuel sales. And actually, we're gonna come out a little better in two ways on the fuel sales. Number one, for the last few years, Reader and Jackson Jet Center is the same way. They weren't competitive with anybody else in the valley. So what it boiled down to, it was basically just a convenience for the people here at Buell to buy fuel if you were in a hurry. Most of the guys went to Gooding or someplace else to buy fuel there, so our fuel sales have been real low because the prices have been too high. Dale will make it competitive with Gooding and everybody else. And up till now, we have never been in contract with Reader or Jackson's. So if they decided to send us a little revenue once in a while, they might cut us a $200 or $300 check once a year, if we were lucky. We go into contract with Thomas's, and they are willing to split the net profits with us, and this will be written in contract. So if we can get our fuel sales up, we could go into, $500 to a couple $3,000 a year in revenue for the Buell Airport. So this is the whole thing in a nutshell. If you have any other questions, I don't know if you guys need to vote on this to approve this. That's why we brought it to you. As much a courtesy to the city council as thing, but it is your airport. We're just an advisory board. So I'll answer questions or anything you want to do about it.
Who currently owns the fuel in the tank? Is that?
In the tank right now belongs to Jackson Jet Center. What Dale will do, since he's gonna own the fuel, once we go turn this over and change it, Jackson will measure it, determine the gallons in it. They're willing to sell it for $5.90 a gallon. Thomas's are willing to buy it.
Okay.
So that way we're not,
We're not in the middle.
yeah, we're not in the fuel business. So I think the board thought it was a very good idea. We thought we needed to present it to you and at the very least, let you guys know what's going on out there. We kind of sit out there and don't tell anybody anything, so it was about time I showed up, so. Any other questions?
No, I think it's very fun.
Okay,
Good idea.
we'll go ahead with what we're thinking about. And keep you posted, okay?
All right, well, thank you.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
I'll make a motion to approve the consideration of the airport fuel equipment purchase from Jackson Jet Center.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and second, any other discussion? Vote, Marla,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Cortland.
Yes. Same thing.
I'll make,
Make-
oh,
I'll make a motion to approve the consideration of contracting with Dale Thomas for the airport fuel sales.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion there? Vote, Marla,
yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Cortland,
Yes.
Brad.
Yes.
All right, yes.
Thanks, everybody. We appreciate it. We got to skip out. Okay.
Have a good night. All right. We need to make sure that we comply with the law with regards to employee privacy issues. If a member of city council would like to discuss any issues pertaining to complaints, discipline, et cetera, of a city employee, those will first need to be discussed with the mayor, who is the chief city administrator, per Idaho Code 50-602. After review of the complaint, discipline, et cetera, if there needs to go before city council, will be listed in an executive session on the upcoming meeting agenda. I don't memorize that one.
So, the only thing is the email piece. Police. You wanna read it?
Oh, yeah, I think you know. That, right. All right.
From Denise, Gerald, I get it?
Very good.
She sent an email, Sunday, June 21st. So at the June 8th, 2026 city council meeting, a concern was brought up by a council member, Marla Sisson, concerning water source and availability as it pertains to this subdivision. I had some limited information about the water issue as it could affect municipal water supplies. This concern has been brought up at a comprehensive plan committee meetings as well, which are currently underway. Mayor Howard asked me to share this information. Harvest Hills has a pressurized irrigation system utilizing TFCC water. The Harvest Hills Homeowners Association, the HOA, initialized this system and is responsible to the green delivery box located on each lot. It is my understanding, having spoken with Taylor Marcel, Harvest Hills HOA Board of Directors, there will be 150 homes supplied with 52 TFCC water shares. The homeowner has the option to use municipal water. I hope that helps to answer the source of concern. Now on to the availability concern. Idaho has declared all 44 counties to be in drought. As this may not seem a dire situation at the moment, this can affect all irrigation managed by the TFCC now. Water deliveries were started early and flows reduced this season. The TFCC delivery system could be shortened this year. If so, there could be an unexpected demand put on the municipal water system at high water demand times. Long story short, if the canal company shuts the water off, the properties would go on city water. If the canal company starts next season late with additional reduced supplies, demand of the municipal system will grow. Domestic wells are drying up around us. Water tables are lowering. Surface water expectations look challenging, all of which should give us pause. Thank you for your concern and attention to this matter.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. I don't.
I just wanted to, I appreciate that, Denise, because I also have those concerns about the water, so I guess it's just, we just need to be very careful, and maybe get some more studies or some more information. Cause I know that developers want to come here, and I am not opposed to that, but your development and your city is worthless if you do not have water. So, So that's on that, and then we went to the AIC conference, yeah, saw Shane there too. It was really nice, yeah, I got a lot out of it. A couple things I wanna touch on is, I went to one conference and it's, they talked about the Main Street America grant. And so my understanding is that you can apply for this grant and they will come into your city, look around, tell you where your main focus should be, and then they can help you apply for grants, to make it, you know, more of a hub, cause when I think of Buell and downtown, I don't really have a direct location, where people can go, and so I just thought that would be something that we could look into. And then the pool, we're all there, Mountain Home just finished their pool to the tune of $4 million, so we have some work to do. And that's basically all I wanted to add for the conference. It was really good.
Impacted.
Yeah.
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 Fourth of July is.
Almost there.
Really quick. I came back.
Yeah, our next meeting will be after it'll all be done. Okay, next item is, adjourn our meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Second.
Greg, do you still have the? Thanks, Brad.
See you later.